And finally, you also talked about forming this consortium to come up with a resilient plan. Well, it looks like the roadmap is on the way, mitigation roadmap, and you also have a disaster risk reduction plan. Okay, now I'd like to open this lecture or talk to the floor here. Ask all your questions that you want to. Shoot at her. Yeah, please give a name and organization.
Yes. Datuk, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Fuazli bin Uzaha. I'm a senior lecturer in National Defence University in Sungai Besi. We are still young. In fact, we are the youngest university in PTA. I'm glad and honored to be here to be part of the disaster community as well. I was a practitioner for the past 26-27 years, and I just joined university 4 years. So I am a part-time student as well, looking into emergency management, structure, calibration, performance, interagencies. My supervisor, my content supervisor is in UPM, Prof. Karul and Dr. Aini. And I'm involved in certain seminar, international seminar, and from the history, I believe Datuk had highlighted the MKN 20. MKN 20 actually is initiated after Highland Tower collapse. That is way back in December 1993. That's why the MKN number 20 is created. And I went through all Directive 1 until Directive 21. This is my area, but my area is more toward response. I would like to ask, can I use the whiteboard to draw something? Can I white?
Yeah, go ahead.
We love initiatives.
This literature I've received from Disaster Response Center because of the prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery is very important because it is fundamental. Before I forget, my area is more towards social science. I'm looking into social science. I'm not looking into technological because I believe most of the publication in journal, it addresses more technological. And I'm quite difficult to find the social science response in the, especially the scopers, the high impact journal. So okay, this is disaster risk reduction. This is disaster management event. This is prevention. This is response. But if it goes prevention, mitigation, response, preparedness, response, and recovery, oblique rehabilitation. So these are the circle, the progress under ASEAN Disaster Response Center. I believe because we are a committee of the researcher of disaster, I would like Prof, you comment on this. Should we apply? Because in a way I'm teaching disaster management in University Tanan. I'm worried that what I'm teaching is not updated and it might not in line with National Security Council as well. And again, the literature I've got, I went to Australia for emergency management seminar. I presented a paper in Defense University in Japan. You said about JICA and I'm so familiar. And my colleague just brought in the new cycle that we should look into in order for us to stay current about disaster itself. Like my focus again on the response, because the preparedness is very important, because among the cycle, within the preparedness, all the mitigation, prevention, we can create, we can exercise it, we can test, we can create a scenario. When we created a scenario, we join exercise, collaborate, and we test. Once the scenario, once the hazard come, we are able to make our community base ready at any time. Just name it, whether it's a man-made or a natural disaster, we are able to react and respond. That's why my area respond, because I am a practitioner. Respond is very important, because within this short time, within the risk reduction, you got your ample time to conduct a research and everything. But in terms of response, you must react. Your limitation is always there. The time is so crucial for you to react. I'm involved in a lot of disaster events that happen. Respond, although it's quite, it's not, we don't have ample time to react. That's why I'm looking into that. So my question is, can you comment on that? Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I understand your problems in the context of looking at the disaster cycle. You see so many different disaster cycles, and that's extremely confusing. But what you need to realize is, when disaster cycles are framed, they are framed from, for instance, the medical perspective, yeah, in which case they would then focus on their particular emergency response. They may focus on the social perspective, and they may focus on the physical perspective. Now, if you actually trace these different disaster management cycles, you will come to a conclusion that the disaster management cycle is framed to fit in one particular community's needs. And when I say community in this sense, if you look at the Hyogo Framework Action Plan, you will see that they drop disaster prevention and they put in disaster mitigation. Whereas disaster prevention is where all the scientific studies will take place. Disaster mitigation is where all the engineering, the techno fixes would go in. And who controls the Hyogo Framework Action Plan? The discipline that controls that particular plan are engineers. So it was convenient for them to drop the prevention. So if you look at the disaster management cycle as we have framed it in the simple way, we have framed it to adapt to Arahan Bencana 20, so that all their action plans can be framed within this one, and they actually have the items there. So it's all coming from Arahan 20. And then what we did was we looked at all the educational material, yeah, for disaster preparedness, awareness, all kinds of educational materials from all agencies in Malaysia, in English and in Malay. And what we found was the highest amount of material is in the disaster preparedness. There is hardly any educational material for disaster prevention. So this denotes the aspect of community being unaware of the disaster prevention part. So we are heavy on preparedness, prepare for disaster. And experience has shown, and many literature says, that a community or a country is only prepared as much as their last disaster experience. So we can tackle anything Johor level anytime. National security can do it because they are prepared. They would have fixed their benchmark and SOPs to fit that. But anything bigger, we have to actually experience it first, and then we will prepare. So there's always going to be this cycle. And the only way we can break this is to actually inform communities inform communities what is the disasters in their area, what kind of hazards they face, what kind of prevention is required. Do they check their slopes? Do they know how much of, if the rainfall is for how many hours, then they have to worry. So if they already have to worry, this is where JPAM has to come in as well. So many different groups have to play, but the first step is to actually make a commitment to inform the communities. People like us, we know where they are, but do the communities know where they are located? It was Albert Einstein who said that the people who are in the know have the responsibility to act. So we are all in the know, and we have a great responsibility to act and inform the community about the hazards they are exposed to. And as we identify these communities, JPAM has to come in, Mercy Malaysia has to come in to build resilience in the disaster prevention, preparedness as well as prevention parts. I hope this helps you, and I'm so glad you are here today, because we are actually, like I say, stock taking all the expertise in the different universities. And may I add here that no university can pursue this alone. Neither can any research, any agency or research institute pursue this alone. So if we want to really find real solutions, we need to come together and work together and respect each other's disciplines. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Yep. Right in the back.
Thank you, Dr. My name is Pereira. I'm a staff here at UKM, and I'm also a fellow of ASM. 2 weeks ago, I gave ASM lecture on the key finding of the IPCC assessment report on the science aspect.
Thank you.
And you heard today mostly on the adaptation aspect. As you know, Prof. Joy also basically affiliated with IPCC. Now, I kind of, maybe I would like to highlight this issue here. As you may aware that Prof. Joy emphasis on this lecture is mostly on adaptation. And the sense that I get here is that perhaps science is not that important when it comes to adaptation. That's at least the reason part being the science that the science on climate change at the regional and local level perhaps is not fully developed yet compared with the global world. But the reason we have in IPCC, the reason we have 3 working groups: science, which is the physical basis, adaptation, environmentally, and also mitigation, because there is a need for science. I mean, if there is no science, we would not be, talking about climate change. So science is the ABC of this thing. We are talking about adaptation, which is of course very, very important. This is the thing that we should be focusing in the country, because we, was it like yesterday? I just came back from IPCC meeting last night. Actually, when I came back, I read this news. Something happened in Cameron Island. It was a disaster, the reason why we're talking about climate change because of science. Because of science. We're looking at the global world because of science. But now we're looking at the regional and the country level. Should we ignore science? Should we ignore science? Should we arbitrarily adapt to something that we are not clear about? Or should we focus the science? So to me, we need to look at not just the adaptation aspect, but the science. We need to invest in the science. Now, globally, this is basically the direction. almost in every part of the world, people now started, even the FPCC itself, now focusing on the regional aspect. Now, there are various projects coordinated under the so-called World Climate Research Program, or WCRP, under WMO. There is so-called Codex project, which is trying to downscale this information into regional as well as local level. You know, and this is what we should be doing. Fortunately, of course, in our region, we already starting doing this thing. But my key point here is that when we're talking about mitigation, we're talking about detection. I think we should not put science aside. Thank you.
Right, yeah. It's on.
Thank you, Prof. Redelin. If I gave you the impression that science was not important, forgive me, because my key message is that science is extremely important. So perhaps in working group 1, you have physical scientists who think, and climate scientists, but in working group 2, you have biological scientists, they are scientists, you have social scientists, they are also scientists, and they have the physical scientists, you have the health people, the medical scientists, you have the engineering scientists. So my message here, my take-home message here is that science is extremely important, and we should improve our sciences so that we can address climate change, so that we can help our policy and decision makers address climate change. What's going to happen in a 2-degree world cannot be answered by the policymaker. It can only be answered by the scientists from the different sectors. What's going to happen in a 4-degree world cannot be answered by the policymakers. It has to be answered by a scientist. So I'm sorry if you think that only climate scientists are scientists, but the rest of us are equally have a claim to the term scientists. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further questions?
We start at 4:50. We start at 4:50.
Just like to interject. I'm not asking question, but anyway, just to respond to Lieutenant Colonel, you have to differentiate between emergency management and disaster management. Two entirely different things. The emergency management is apabila berlaku sesuatu bencana, sama ada dia akan diisytiharkan sebagai emergency atau normal disaster management. Itu saja. Emergency is the degree yang kita akan ambil. Tetapi daripada disaster management is normal. What you need to do untuk memulihkan bencana itu sendiri. So don't get confused antara emergency management dengan disaster management.
I would like to rebut on that because Enrico
Corinteli from US Delaware University, I believe if you learn disaster management university in US Delaware University is Corinteli, that right, is all the scholar in disaster management. The definition when you say emergency, yes, according to military definition of emergency, macam tuan cakap. Tapi on the level emergency, if you I'm going to quote the case study of Federal Emergency Management. Emergency Management Australia. The definition of emergency is within the disaster. The level emergency is all the managers, whether in a business continuation plan, like Prof. you said just now, a military action in America, the National Guard. In fact, in Australia, the emergency management agencies under legal division, they are so well versed and they are using the term of emergency management. We, under disaster committee, don't confuse ourselves again, because the definition, we, like what Professor said just now, we get the definition right, then we are talking the same language. I think I am not out of the explanation.
I don't want to argue on that. You do not know me. Yeah. I'm not to say expert in this area. I'm not to give more in it. I understand.
No,
just to tell you, there are two differences, vast differences antara emergency dengan disaster itu saja. Because emergency can be anything, can be anything. So bila kita kata kecemasan is different, disaster is different. Itu sajalah yang saya nak jelaskan.
All right.
Thank you very much. I think that's Tuan Hafifi, just a moment, let me make an intervention. I think that you are both right, okay? Because from a practitioner's perspective, they will have their own definitions, and a policy maker in a country will have their own sets of definitions as required by, as mandated by the law, okay? And an academic will have more freedom to have different types of definition for different purposes. So this is an academic practitioner's interface, a science policy domain. You can do some things for science which is not applicable in policy, and you will do some things for policy that is reprehensible in science, okay? And there is a overlap. So in this particular overlap, we need to clarify, and in this overlap, when we work with policymakers, we would adhere to their existing structures, systems and processes. So this is the only way we can get our science in to be relevant. So okay, this is the platform, they are the decision makers. We put in our science to address those needs. When we are writing our papers and we do anything we want, we have all the academic freedom in the world.
Wait a minute.
Thank you.
Okay, you go ahead.
I'm not a lecturer actually, but I'm still a student, still learning. But anyway, I've been involved in operation since more than 26 years in my life. Saya Habibi daripada Jepang. I deal with emergency every day, but disaster once in a while. So from there, I can give my definition on emergency, because we have been arguing about the definition, not only today, but before this, when we tried to come up with a report to our minister, which categories should be put under emergencies and which one under disaster. So we have come into agreement, this is in my department, the rest I don't know, where the daily emergency services, like the 999, we call it emergency, whereby the occurrence is rapid. I mean, we can resolve the matter in a few hours or maybe a day. But if you talk about disaster, it will be prolonged and will take some time to recover. And not only one agency can resolve the disaster. Many agencies must be involved. It's extensive logistics, and there is more casualties and also damage to properties. That is what I understand on disaster. But anyway, I also agree with Dato' Moen just now on the emergency, because in bahasa, the emergency means darurat. One is darurat, whereby the proclamation where the Yang di-Pertuan Agong used the Akta Perkhidmatan Negara 1952.
That's right.
It's also emergency.
That's right.
Okay, and the other one is the normal daily emergencies. It's called 999. So, like what Colonel said just now, the emergency that I know what is trying to talk about is about the darurat, the big emergency, whereby disaster also can be emergency.
Yep.
So I understand both.
They're both right.
Dato' Moen, understanding disaster emergency is the darurat. I am trying to say that emergency is within the small community.
Oh, okay, right. So because
That's right. Is that clear on the definition?
Yeah, I understand you gonna. When we talk about emergency, there's two connotations there. The daily emergency services, which we civil defense is part of the national emergency services, and also the the disaster which happened like the Cameron Highland, tsunami, Highland Towers, and whatsoever.
Yes.
So that is why I understand. I want to just to share my knowledge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It looks like, some of the departments or ministries have to get together to
Terminology.
come up with the
Glossary.
terminology, the meaning. And I thought today some of you would have worked on it. No? Looks like there should be another meeting just to solve this. So when you use a certain term, everybody understands what it means.
Yes, actually.
No, just I think to clarify, kita memang ASEAN, I'm a member of ASM, so we conclude that disaster is disaster, emergency is emergency. I know US, I have been involved with them, under ISPR, Australia, all the platforms,
We need Malaysian definitions.
based in Bangkok, but they are still using ISPR, International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. So emergency is only methodology you menguruskan secara kecemasan ataupun you nak menguruskan sesuatu bencana itu ikut normal procedure. So itu dia punya itulah. So there's something orang kata bukan itu, tapi you quote American. I have been involved with them because the seventh fleet is using emergency. They are not using disaster because I have been involved with the general of the seventh fleet too. So the Southern Leyte, the Saigon, masa tanah untuk. So they address as emergency. It's not disaster. But that is their definition. But according to our consensus, under ASM is still disaster. Yeah? So that is under ASM.
Okay, thank you. But this calls for another workshop just to get the terminology. Okay.
Our definition
Yeah, I was just thinking that we should put this as a action item tomorrow. Develop a glossary of terms and concepts that is relevant to the different agencies and for common practice. And this is darurat kecemasan is not only one issue, because in Malay we have in English security and safety. Two different concepts, security and safety, but it translates to keselamatan in both. So one compromises the other. But if you walk into the airport in Changi, you see Jabatan Security dan Keselamatan, differentiated. So this is really good discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
Roger.
Yeah.
Roger.
Yeah.
Probably have to provide some form of solution. Well, I think what we need to do is to look back at what Prof. Joe has deliberated earlier. Initially, you did highlight on the definitions. Definitions mean everybody got to speak the same language. Now, if you talk about disaster, now disaster got to start from somewhere. Somewhere means the risk has occurred. Now, risk occurrence can lead to disaster, and you can debate about disaster, emergency, and what. But of course, by definition, depend on whose definition it is. You can have the British school of thought, you can have the European school of thought, you can have the American, and you can also have the Australian school of thought. But I sit in the World Expert Group in the formulation of the world's risk management standard. So look into that standard ISO 31009, where everybody has been invited. This is the World Expert Group, only selected members representing 30 countries. These are members who represent their countries and nominated by the government. I've been blessed with the privilege to represent Malaysia. So only 3 countries in Asia were selected and invited: Malaysia, Singapore, and Japan. So we came up in the first World Risk Management Standard, ISO 21009, that was in November year 2009. So please look into that first before we prolong and continue an endless debate. We must have a basis. So there's no point also, Prof. Joe, I think you can save your press and also our precious time in coming up with a glossary tomorrow. Because we already have a glossary, a world global glossary, and this is actually based on the international best practices. We have actually debated among the practitioners the academics, the so-called professionals, the so-called experts worldwide. We have deliberated, we have debated, we have argued, and we spent 5 long years just to come up with that global international standard ISO 1000. And yet, many have come back to us and say they have problems implementing ISO 1000. So you can imagine the difficulty. Why? Because there are so many people coming from different learning experiences, different countries, different education, different schools, different universities. So you must respect one another, as Prof. Joe has mentioned just now. And working on that basis, on that mutual respect, that's what we did. We succeeded very well in coming up with the draft and also eventually published the standard. And that's based on international best practices. Just to quote one example, the NZ 4360 is now obsolete. The NZ 4360, Australia and New Zealand. Now, New Zealand itself, apart from the ships, they actually presented through public forum to 7,000 of their members. Just imagine, 7,000 members actually debated even on one particular definition of risk. There are various authors and scholars defining risk, but at the end of the day, all of us agree that risk is an effect on objectives. The effect of uncertainty on objectives, whatever objective, be it national objective, be it organizational, be it individual objective. Whatever it is the effect on uncertainty.
So it must be a good
Hence,
compromise.
the uncertainty of risk.
Yeah.
So whatever we are doing is full of uncertainty. And we are moving fast forward to look into the risk frontier. That's the reason why we have come up with ISO 31004, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because that is a new guide to actually assist companies, organizations, including company and also countries to actually implement effectively ISO 31000 to 009. So I think if all of us rujuk dulu, please refer to the best standard available, then I think we could possibly adopt better risk mitigation in minimizing personal friction. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the excellent input, Prof. Rashid. Just to remind you, as I did my terminology, you will notice I never define disasters the Malaysian way, but I have defined climate change the Malaysian way. So the negotiators would want a definition that allows them to negotiate well. So similarly, whatever the standard definitions exist out there, National Security Council will take a definition that gives them wriggle room in international negotiation. So I think the security of the country and sovereignty issue would always come first for national level definitions, particularly in policy documents. And that is something we have to acknowledge and respect. And just to let you know, Prof. Rashid, right now there is a big argument going on in the email about the definition of risk in the IPCC, because risk is perceived by physical scientists and biological scientists as something of a negative outcome. Yeah, but to the economists, risk is both positive and negative outcome. I took the risk and I got the money. Yeah, you've heard that term. So there's a huge debate going on. So the international definition doesn't work so much here because of the sovereignty issues that will come up. Thank you.
But anyway, you will look into this ISO.
Yes, we will, for sure.
Okay, one last question. Time is running.
I think I don't want to discover the terminology, maybe to and this, one of your proposals just now is we should have the area-based resilient plan or area-based community plan or equivalent to area-based business plan. I think that's a very good proposal. So I suggest that we should have a pilot project for this. I know two areas we need to look at internal landslide prone area. One is Kundasan, because we already have the very good hazard plan, which has been done by SEPRI and also JMG. And this is very good. You know, Kundasan, the house is moving half a meter here. So half a meter here. So they mean to say there's a few houses. This year is living room here, and after 5 years, a kitchen left behind. We have that record. So we should have that program. And those people are very poor people. Very, very poor.
Double exposure.
And I'm very concerned when you just say, oh, we know about this. I suggest we should have either under Academi sign or separate or
No, separate.
agencies. And one thing is the state governments of Sabah is very receptive about this, including the now. In fact, in January we will have community-based activities, so we will come all the other organizations to join in. In fact, yesterday we briefed to all the resort operators, we give all the and how to mitigate them in simple manner. For instance, increase, for instance, use the water by improve the drainage system. So that's a very simple but very useful. So that's why that suggestion is very good, and we should set as one pilot project. And when we have an action plan, we should do it immediately. Don't just action plan. We have banyak action plan, but then the action after that is very clear. We have done that very good job in Kundasan. You can pick up Kundasan. One is Bukit Athabasar. Bukit Athabasar state government declare it as a high-risk area. That's based on study where is the
Yeah. Thank you for the compliment for asking SIDPRI to coordinate this. But I think we need to use the best available science. And in order to get the best available science, you need the best available scientists. And scientists, if you have one particular in university, another scientist will not make it access to. So perhaps we need a neutral platform like the Akademi of Sciences, where you have the ability to draw all the researchers from academia and all the researchers from the research institutes in the country who are actually doing a good job. It's just that we don't talk to each other. So we can all talk to each other, and I think perhaps ASM should take the lead. Dr. Ahmad Ibrahim is here. Maybe we can ask him his thoughts on how he sees this unfolding in the ASM. Kenakan ni.
Dr. Ahmad.
Mike.
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, of course the ASM is ready because we are quite a neutral party. So we can bring all these silos together and get better coordination. And talking about emergency and disaster, emergency break. And some people, even those who tak dapat any dua bahagian pun is a disaster.
Crime theory, vulnerable versus hazard, it becomes disaster.
Okay, I think we'll have to end here. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Joy Pereira for an excellent presentation, which resulted in a lot of discussion. And I think there will be a follow-up on some of your findings now.
Okay.
I like all of you all to join me showing our appreciation to Professor Joy in our usual manner.
Dan seterusnya Encik Muhammad Arif Baharom sebagai wakil pada MKN. Terima kasih Dr. Ahmad.
Okay.